She hit the concrete hard, face first. A 15-year-old black girl, skin and bones, collapsed right in front of a Hells Angels clubhouse. Caleb Whitmore ran to her. He dropped to his knees. And then he saw it. Bruises. Dark, ugly bruises wrapped around her arms like chains. A shadow on her jaw. Marks that didn't come from falling. Marks that came from fists, from hands, from someone who wanted to hurt her. He checked her pulse. Barely there. He lifted her face and whispered, "Who hurt you?" She opened her eyes, and the name she spoke made his blood turn to ice. Victor Harlan. That name sent the entire Hells Angels club tearing through the city, hunting one man, a man who thought no one could touch him, a man who was dead wrong. Before we continue, subscribe to this channel and stay until the very end. Comment your city below. Let's see how far this story reaches. Caleb Whitmore had seen a lot in his 52 years. He'd been in fights. He'd buried friends. He'd watched good men turn bad, and bad men turn worse. But nothing prepared him for what he saw that Tuesday afternoon. He was standing outside the clubhouse, wiping grease off his hands, talking to Frank about a carburetor that wouldn't quit grinding. The sun was hot. The street was quiet. Just another slow day. Then he heard it. A soft thud, like something heavy hitting the ground. He turned. A girl was lying on the sidewalk, maybe 30 feet away, face down, not moving. "Hey!" Caleb shouted. He dropped the rag and ran. Frank followed, but Caleb got there first. He dropped to his knees beside her. She was young. Too young. Couldn't have been more than 15, 16 at most. Black girl, thin as a rail, wearing clothes that were 2 sizes too big and falling apart at the seams. "Hey, can you hear me?" Caleb put 2 fingers on her neck. Pulse was there, weak, but there. "Come on, kid, wake up." Her eyes fluttered, but didn't open. Her breathing was shallow, ragged, like her lungs had forgotten how to work. "Caleb." Frank's voice was low. "Look at her arms." Caleb looked. His stomach dropped. Bruises. Dark, ugly bruises wrapped around both arms, like someone had grabbed her and squeezed with everything they had. More marks on her wrists. A shadow near her jaw, purple and green, the kind that takes days to form. These weren't from falling. These were from hands. Someone's hands. "Get the truck," Caleb said quietly. "Caleb, maybe we should call—" "Get the truck, now." Frank didn't argue. He ran. Caleb scooped the girl up. She weighed nothing, literally nothing, like she was made of paper and air. Her head rolled against his chest, and he could feel every bone in her spine through her thin shirt. "It's okay," he said softly, even though he knew she couldn't hear him. "I got you. You're gonna be okay." He didn't know if that was true, but he said it anyway. The hospital was 10 minutes away. Caleb sat in the back of the truck, holding the girl steady while Frank drove like the devil was chasing them. She still hadn't woken up. Her breathing was getting weaker. "Come on, kid," Caleb muttered. "Stay with me." They pulled up to the emergency entrance. Caleb carried her through the doors, and suddenly there were nurses everywhere, shouting, moving. Someone took her from his arms and put her on a stretcher. They wheeled her away through a set of double doors, and she was gone. Caleb stood there, breathing hard, his shirt stained with dirt from her clothes. A nurse approached him, young woman, kind eyes, clipboard in hand. "Sir, are you family?" "No, I just found her." "Do you know her name?" No. Do you know what happened to her? Caleb's jaw tightened. I know someone hurt her. That's all I know. The nurse nodded slowly. We'll take care of her. You can wait over there if you want. Caleb looked at the waiting area. Plastic chairs, fluorescent lights, a TV playing some news channel nobody was watching. I'll wait, he said. An hour passed. Then 2. Frank had left to deal with things at the clubhouse, but Caleb stayed. He didn't know why. She wasn't his kid, wasn't his responsibility. He didn't even know her name. But those bruises wouldn't leave his mind. Someone had done that to her. Someone had put their hands on a child and hurt her, over and over, until her body gave up. And she'd been out there on the streets, alone, with nobody to help her. That thought made something burn in Caleb's chest. Something hot and angry and old. Finally, a doctor came out. Middle-aged man, tired eyes, white coat. You're the one who brought her in? Yeah. She's stable now. Severe dehydration and malnutrition. Her body essentially shut down from exhaustion and lack of food. We've got her on fluids. She's awake. Caleb let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Can I see her? The doctor hesitated. She's scared. Very scared. She hasn't said a word since she woke up. Are you sure you want to? I just want to make sure she's okay. That's it. The doctor studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. Room 114. But go easy on her. Caleb walked down the hallway slowly. His boots echoed on the linoleum. He stopped outside room 114, took a deep breath, and pushed the door open. She was sitting up in the bed, staring at the IV in her arm like it was some kind of alien creature. Her eyes were wide, dark, filled with a fear that made Caleb's heart ache. When she saw him, big man, leather vest, tattoos, her whole body went rigid. She pressed herself back against the pillows, hands gripping the blanket like she was ready to run. It's okay, Caleb said quickly. He stayed by the door, didn't move closer. I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm the one who brought you here. She didn't say anything, just watched him, like a trapped animal waiting for the next blow. Caleb lowered himself into a chair by the door, keeping as much distance as possible. My name's Caleb, he said quietly. What's yours? Silence. You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. That's okay. More silence. Caleb tried a different approach. You hungry? Something flickered in her eyes, just for a second, but he caught it. I'll be right back, he said. He left the room, found the cafeteria, bought soup, bread, a bottle of water, and a pack of crackers. Then he came back. She was still in the same position, still watching the door. When he walked in, she tensed again. Easy, Caleb said. He set the food on the table beside her bed and stepped back. Way back. It's just food, no strings attached. She stared at the soup like it might explode. It's not poisoned, Caleb said with a small smile. I ate here once. Worst decision of my life. But I survived. Nothing. Look, kid, you don't trust me. I get it. You probably shouldn't trust anybody at this point. But I'm not leaving until I know you've eaten something. So you might as well get it over with. For a long moment, she didn't move. Then, slowly, carefully, she reached for the bread. She tore off a piece and put it in her mouth, chewed, swallowed. Then she tore off another piece, and another. She ate like she hadn't seen food in days. Maybe she hadn't. Caleb didn't say a word. He just let her eat. When she finished the bread, she reached for the soup, drank it straight from the bowl, hands shaking so bad she spilled some on the blanket. When the bowl was empty, she finally looked at him. "Keisha," she said softly. "My name's Keisha." "Keisha," Caleb nodded. "That's a pretty name." "Why did you help me?" The question caught him off guard. "What do you mean?" "Nobody helps. Not out there. You see someone on the ground, you walk around them. That's how it works." "Maybe that's how it works for some people," Caleb said, "but not for me." Keisha studied him. Her eyes were still guarded, but there was something else there now. Curiosity. Maybe even a tiny sliver of hope. "What's going to happen to me?" she asked. "Right now, you're going to rest. Get your strength back. The doctors are taking care of you." "And after?" Caleb didn't have an answer for that. "We'll figure it out." "No." Keisha shook her head. "There's no we. There's just me. It's always just me." "How long have you been on the streets?" She shrugged. "Few months, maybe more. I stopped counting." "What about your family?" Her jaw tightened. The light in her eyes went out like someone had flipped a switch. "Don't have one." Caleb knew that tone. He knew what it meant. He didn't push. "Okay," he said. "You don't have to talk about it." They sat in silence for a while. The machines beeped. The fluorescent lights hummed. Outside the window, the sun was starting to set. Finally, Caleb spoke again. "Keisha." She looked at him. "Those marks on your arms. On your face." He kept his voice soft, gentle. "They didn't come from falling, did they?" She didn't answer, but her whole body went still. "Someone hurt you," Caleb continued. "Someone put their hands on you. And I need to know who." Keisha's eyes darted to the door. Her breathing got faster. "I'm not trying to scare you," Caleb said. "I just want to help." "You can't help." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Nobody can help." "Try me." She looked at him then, really looked, searching his face for something. Lies, maybe, or a trap, or whatever evil she'd learned to expect from people who said they wanted to help. Whatever she was looking for, she must not have found it, because after a long moment, she spoke. "His name is Victor Harlan." Caleb's blood went cold. "Victor Harlan," he repeated slowly. Keisha nodded. "He runs things, on the streets, in the part of town where I sleep, where all of us sleep." "What does he run?" "Everything." Her voice was shaking now. "He says he's protecting us. That's what he tells everyone. But he's not protecting anyone. He's taking." "Taking what?" "Everything we have. Money, food stamps, whatever we can get. He calls it payment. Says we owe him for letting us stay there, and if we don't pay..." She trailed off. Her hands were trembling. "If you don't pay, what happens?" Caleb asked quietly. Keisha's eyes filled with tears. "Then everyone sees what happens." "What did he do to you, Keisha?" She was crying now, silent tears rolling down her cheeks. "I didn't have anything left," she whispered. "I hadn't eaten in 2 days. I had $20, that's it. $20 I found in a trash can, and I was supposed to give it to him. That's the rule, you give him everything. But I was so hungry, I couldn't think, so I bought food." She took a shaky breath. "He found out. He always finds out. Someone told him, and he came looking for me." "What did he do?" "He didn't do it in private." Keisha's voice cracked. "He did it in front of everyone. In the middle of the day, where everyone could see, he wanted them to see. He wanted them to know what happens when you don't follow the rules." She was sobbing now, her thin body shaking with the force of it. "He grabbed me, squeezed my arms so hard I thought the bones would break, slapped me, threw me on the ground, kicked me, and the whole time he was talking, Not to me, to everyone else, telling them this is what happens. This is what happens when you don't pay. Caleb's hands were clenched into fists so tight his knuckles had gone white, but his voice stayed calm. How long has he been doing this? Months. Maybe longer, I don't know. I just know nobody fights back. You can't fight back. He has people. They watch everything. And if you run, he finds you. There's nowhere to go. Has anyone gone to the police? Keisha laughed bitterly. The police? They don't care about people like us. We're invisible. We don't exist. And even if they did care, Victor would find out. He always finds out. And then it would be worse. So much worse. Caleb sat back in his chair. His mind was racing. Victor Harlan. He didn't know the name, but he knew the type. The kind of man who built his power on fear, who preyed on people who had nothing, who couldn't fight back, who had no one to turn to. The kind of man who thought he was untouchable. Keisha, Caleb said slowly, does Harlan know you're here, in the hospital? Her face went pale. I don't know. I hope not. But if he does... If he does, what? Then he'll come for me. Her voice was barely audible. He'll find me, and he'll make sure I never talk again. Caleb stood up. His body felt like it was made of iron and fire. Listen to me, he said firmly. Look at me. She did. He's not going to touch you again. You understand? Not while I'm breathing. You don't know him. No. But I know men like him. And I know one thing they all have in common. What? Caleb's eyes were hard as stone. They bleed. Just like everyone else. The next morning, the hospital discharged Keisha. She had nowhere to go. No family, no friends, no home. Caleb was waiting for her in the lobby. Come on, he said. You're coming with me. Where? Somewhere safe. Just for now. Until we figure out what to do. Keisha hesitated. Every instinct she'd developed on the streets was screaming at her to run. Don't trust anyone. Don't go anywhere with anyone. Trust gets you hurt. But she was so tired. So tired of being scared. So tired of being alone. Okay, she whispered. Caleb drove her to a small house on the edge of town. It belonged to a woman named Rosa, a friend of the club who'd helped out before with people who needed a place to disappear for a while. You'll be safe here, Caleb told Keisha as they pulled up. Rosa's good people. She won't ask questions. Just rest, eat, get your strength back. What about you? Keisha asked. Where are you going? Caleb's jaw tightened. I've got some questions that need answers. About Victor? Yeah. Fear flashed across Keisha's face. Please don't. If you go after him, he'll know I talked. He'll know it was me. And then... Hey. Caleb turned to face her. Look at me. She did, her eyes wide and terrified. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. That's a promise. But I'm also not going to let a man like Victor Harlan keep hurting people. You're not the first person he's done this to. And if somebody doesn't stop him, you won't be the last. But why do you care? The question burst out of her. You don't even know me. I'm nobody. I'm just some homeless kid who passed out in front of your clubhouse. Why do you care what happens to me? Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. 30 years ago, I was on those streets. I was 17, hungry, scared. Nobody gave a damn whether I lived or died. And then someone helped me. A stranger. Didn't know me from Adam, but he saw me, and he helped me anyway. Changed my whole life. He looked at Keisha. I'm just paying it forward." Keisha stared at him. For the first time since he'd met her, the fear in her eyes was joined by something else. Hope. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me yet," Caleb said. "We've got a long way to go." He got out of the truck, walked her to the door, introduced her to Rosa. Then he got back in the truck and drove away. He had work to do. Caleb didn't go back to the clubhouse right away. Instead, he drove to the part of town Keisha had described. The forgotten part. The part where people fell through the cracks and disappeared. It was worse than he'd imagined. Tents everywhere. People sleeping on cardboard. Trash piled in the gutters. Faces that were hollow and haunted. Eyes that had seen too much. And underneath it all, fear. He could feel it in the way people walked, in the way they looked over their shoulders, in the way they flinched when a car drove by. This wasn't just poverty. This was a prison. An open-air prison run by a man named Victor Harlan. Caleb parked his bike and started walking. He wasn't wearing his vest, didn't want to draw attention. He just wanted to watch, to learn. He approached a man sitting by a shopping cart full of cans. "Excuse me," Caleb said. The man looked up, old, weathered, eyes that had stopped trusting a long time ago. "What do you want?" "Just asking around. You know a guy named Victor Harlan?" The reaction was instant. The man's face closed like a door slamming shut. "Never heard of him." "You sure about that?" "I said I never heard of him." The man grabbed his cart and started wheeling away. "You should leave. You shouldn't be asking questions like that around here." Caleb watched him go. That told him everything he needed to know. Over the next few days, Caleb kept coming back. Different times, different places. He asked questions, carefully, quietly. Most people wouldn't talk. They'd shake their heads, look away, walk away. But some talked, in whispers, in fragments, in the careful language of people who were terrified but desperate for someone, anyone, to listen. He learned that Harlan had been running this operation for 2 years, maybe longer. That he had a network of enforcers who watched everything and everyone. That he collected protection money every week, and anyone who didn't pay got beaten. Or worse. He learned that several people had tried to run. None of them had gotten far. And he learned that Victor Harlan had a right-hand man, a guy named Evan Pike, mid-30s, did most of the collecting. Most of the beating. Caleb filed that name away. On the 4th day, he finally spotted him. Evan Pike was standing on a corner, arms crossed, watching the street. He looked exactly like Keisha had described. Medium height, average build, the kind of guy who tried to look tough but couldn't quite pull it off. And he was collecting. Caleb watched as Evan moved from person to person, taking money, taking food, taking whatever they had. Nobody argued, nobody resisted. They just handed it over, heads down, shoulders slumped, like this was the most normal thing in the world. But Caleb noticed something. Evan's hands were shaking. Every time he took the money, his hands shook. And every few seconds he'd look over his shoulder, quick, nervous, like he expected someone to jump out at any moment. That wasn't confidence. That was fear. And fear, Caleb knew, was something he could work with. That night, Caleb called a meeting at the clubhouse. Just a few guys. Frank, Marcus, Ray. Guys he trusted. He told them about Keisha, about what she'd said, about Victor Harlan, and what he was doing to people who had no one else to turn to. When he finished, the room was silent. Finally, Frank spoke. "Caleb, I hear you. But this isn't our fight." "Then whose fight is it?" "I don't know. The cops, social services, somebody else." The cops don't care, Caleb said flatly. Social services doesn't know, and even if they did, by the time they get around to doing something, more people will get hurt. More kids like Keisha. So what do you want us to do? Marcus asked. Go in there, guns blazing, start a war? No, Caleb shook his head. We do this smart. We gather information, we find evidence, and we expose him. We drag everything he's done into the light where everyone can see it. And if that doesn't work? Caleb's eyes were cold. Then we make sure he can never hurt anyone again. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then Marcus nodded slowly. I'm in. Ray nodded too. Same. Frank sighed heavily. You're going to get us all killed. Probably, Caleb agreed. Fine. Frank stood up. Let's do this. The next morning, Caleb went to check on Keisha. She was sitting at the kitchen table in Rosa's house, eating scrambled eggs. She looked better. The color was coming back to her face. Her eyes were a little brighter. But when she saw Caleb, fear flickered across her features. Did something happen? She asked quickly. Did he find out? No, Caleb said. Nothing like that. I just wanted to see how you're doing. Keisha relaxed slightly. I'm okay. Rosa's been nice. Caleb sat down across from her. Good. That's good. They sat in silence for a moment. What are you going to do? Keisha asked finally. About Victor? I'm working on it. That's not an answer. Caleb smiled slightly. You're pretty sharp, you know that? I had to be. Keisha's voice was matter-of-fact. Out there, you learn fast or you don't survive. How long were you on the streets? Almost 8 months. And before that? The light went out of her eyes. Foster care. What happened? Keisha was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice flat and distant. My mom died when I was 6. Overdose. Never knew my dad. So I went into the system. Bounced around from place to place. Some were okay. Most weren't. The last one... She stopped. You don't have to tell me, Caleb said. No, Keisha shook her head. It's okay. The last family, they had 3 other foster kids. The dad, he drank. A lot. And when he drank, he got mean. First it was just yelling, then it was hitting. Then she took a shaky breath. I ran. I couldn't take it anymore. I'd rather live on the streets than go back there. Caleb felt his heart crack. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's okay. It's just life, right? Some people get lucky, some people don't. That's not okay. Caleb's voice was firm. None of that is okay. You deserved better. You still do. Keisha looked at him. Her eyes were shining with tears she was trying hard not to shed. Why are you being so nice to me? Because someone should have been nice to you a long time ago, Caleb said simply. And because I believe everyone deserves a chance, even if the world tries to convince them otherwise. A single tear rolled down Keisha's cheek. She wiped it away quickly. Victor's going to come after me, she said quietly. He always does. And when he finds me, he's not going to find you. You can't promise that. Watch me. Keisha stared at him for a long moment. Then, for the first time since he'd met her, she smiled. Just a tiny smile, barely there. But it was real. You're crazy, she said. Probably, Caleb agreed. But that's never stopped me before. 3 days later, everything changed. Keisha was in her room at Rosa's house when she heard a knock on the door. Rosa answered it. There were voices, Then footsteps coming toward her room. The door opened. Rosa's face was white. "Keisha, there's something you need to see." Keisha followed her to the front door. Rosa pointed outside. There, taped to the front gate, was a piece of paper. Keisha walked out and took it down with trembling hands. 3 words were written in black marker. "I always know." The paper fell from her hands. He'd found her. Victor Harlan had found her. Keisha couldn't breathe. The paper shook in her hands. 3 words. That's all it took to destroy everything. "I always know." Her legs gave out. She grabbed the gate to keep from falling. Rosa was beside her in seconds, pulling her back inside, slamming the door, locking it. "What is it?" Rosa demanded. "What does it mean?" Keisha couldn't speak. Her throat had closed up. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. He found her. Victor found her. She'd been so careful. She hadn't told anyone where she was going. She hadn't called anyone. She hadn't done anything. But he still found her. "Keisha!" Rosa grabbed her shoulders. "Talk to me. What's happening?" "He knows," Keisha whispered. "He knows I'm here. He knows I talked." "Who knows? Who are you talking about?" "Victor Harlan." Just saying the name made Keisha feel sick. "He's the one who hurt me, and now he's coming for me." Rosa's face went pale. "We need to call Caleb." "No." Keisha shook her head frantically. "No, I have to run. I have to get out of here before he comes. If he finds me here, he'll hurt you too. He'll hurt everyone." "You're not running anywhere." Rosa's voice was firm. "You're staying right here, and I'm calling Caleb." She pulled out her phone and dialed. Keisha stood frozen, her mind racing. Where could she go? How far could she get? Victor had people everywhere. He had eyes everywhere. There was nowhere to hide. There was nowhere safe. Rosa spoke into the phone. "Caleb, you need to get here, now. Something happened." 20 minutes later, Caleb's truck pulled up outside. He was through the door before Keisha could even move. "Show me," he said. Rosa handed him the paper. Caleb read it. His jaw tightened. His eyes went cold. Hard. Like steel. "Where did you find this?" "Taped to the front gate," Rosa said. "This morning." Caleb turned to Keisha. She was pressed against the wall, arms wrapped around herself, shaking. "Did you see anyone?" he asked. "Hear anything?" Keisha shook her head. "No, nothing. I didn't even know it was there until Rosa found it." Caleb looked at the paper again. His grip tightened until his knuckles went white. "He's sending a message," he said quietly. "He wants you scared. He wants you to run." "Then I should run," Keisha said desperately. "I should get as far away as possible before—" "No," Caleb cut her off. "That's exactly what he wants. The moment you run, you're alone, vulnerable, easy prey. That's how he operates. He scares people into running, then he catches them when they have no one left." "So what am I supposed to do? Just sit here and wait for him to come kill me?" "You're going to let me handle this." "Handle it how?" Keisha's voice cracked. "You don't understand. Victor has people, lots of people. They watch everything. They know everything. You can't fight them all." Caleb stepped closer. His voice was calm but fierce. "Keisha, look at me." She did. Her eyes were wild with terror. "I've dealt with men like Victor my whole life," Caleb said. "Men who think they're untouchable because everyone's too scared to stand up to them. You know what they all have in common?" Keisha shook her head. "They're cowards. Every single one. They only have power as long as people are afraid. The moment someone stops being afraid, their whole world falls apart. "I am afraid," Keisha whispered. "I'm so afraid." "I know." Caleb's voice softened. "And that's okay. Being afraid doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But I need you to trust me."
Can you do that?
Keisha stared at him for a long moment. Every instinct she had was screaming at her to run, to hide, to disappear. But something in Caleb's eyes made her hesitate. Something solid. Something real. "Okay," she whispered. "I trust you." Caleb nodded. "Good. Now I need you to tell me everything. Every detail you can remember about Victor's operation. Where he stays, who works for him, how he communicates, everything." So Keisha talked. For the next hour, she told Caleb everything she knew. The places Victor controlled, the men who worked for him, the schedule he kept, the way he collected money every Thursday night, the way his enforcers watched every corner, every alley, every person. Caleb listened without interrupting. When she finished, he sat back. "Evan Pike," he said. "You mentioned him before. He's Victor's right hand?" "Yeah, he does most of the collecting, most of the hurting." "Tell me about him." Keisha frowned. "What do you mean? What kind of person is he? Does he enjoy what he does? Is he loyal to Victor?" Keisha thought about it. "I don't know. He's different from the others. He doesn't talk much, doesn't laugh when bad things happen. He just does what Victor tells him and then leaves." "Does he ever seem nervous? Scared?" "Sometimes," Keisha admitted. "When Victor's around, Evan always looks like he's waiting to get hit. Like he knows he could be next if he messes up." Caleb nodded slowly. A plan was forming in his mind. "Stay here," he told Keisha. "Don't go outside. Don't talk to anyone you don't know. Rosa will take care of you." "Where are you going?" Caleb stood up. "To have a conversation with Evan Pike." That night, Caleb found Evan exactly where he expected. Same corner, same routine. Collecting money from people who had nothing left to give. Caleb waited until Evan was alone. Then he approached. "Long day?" Evan spun around, startled. His hand went to his pocket. "Easy," Caleb said. "I'm not here to cause trouble." "Then what do you want?" "Just to talk." Evan studied him suspiciously. "I don't know you." "No, you don't. But you know Keisha Williams." Evan's face flickered, just for a second, but Caleb caught it. "Don't know anyone by that name," Evan said flatly. "Sure you do. 15 years old, black girl, thin. You watched Victor beat her in front of everyone because she kept $20 to buy food." Evan's jaw tightened. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Here's the thing, Evan." Caleb stepped closer. "I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think you're tired." "Tired of what?" "Tired of watching Victor hurt people. Tired of being scared all the time. Tired of wondering when you're going to be the one on the ground getting beaten." Evan's eyes darted around nervously. "You need to leave, right now. If someone sees me talking to you..." "No one's watching. I made sure of that." "You don't know that. Victor has eyes everywhere." "Victor has people everywhere," Caleb corrected. "And people can be convinced to look the other way, especially when they're afraid of the same man you're afraid of." Evan was breathing harder now. His hands were shaking. "What do you want from me?" "I want you to help me stop him." Evan laughed bitterly. "Stop him? You can't stop him. Nobody can." "Why not?" "Because he's got records, evidence, on everyone, everything. If anyone tries to turn on him, he'll destroy them. He'll release everything, ruin their lives, send them to prison. He's got insurance." Caleb's mind raced. This was new information. Important information. Where does he keep these records? Why should I tell you? Because I think you want out, Caleb said quietly. I think you've wanted out for a long time. You just didn't think there was a way. Evan stared at him. His face was a battleground of fear and hope and desperation. If I help you, he said slowly, and Victor finds out, he won't find out. You can't promise that. You're right, I can't. But I can promise you this. Caleb looked him dead in the eye. If you stay with Victor, sooner or later, he's going to turn on you. You know that. You've seen what he does to people who stop being useful. Is that how you want to end up? Bleeding on the ground while everyone watches? Evan flinched. Or, Caleb continued, you can help me take him down. And when it's over, you can walk away. Start over. Have a life that doesn't involve looking over your shoulder every 5 seconds. Evan was quiet for a long moment. The weight of the decision pressed down on him. Finally, he spoke. He keeps everything on a laptop. Personal records, financial records, names, dates, everything he uses to control people. Where's the laptop? In his house. In a safe, behind a painting in his bedroom. Can you get me inside? Evan swallowed hard. Maybe. He has me drop off money sometimes. I know the layout. I know when he's out. When is he out? Thursday nights, 8 to midnight. That's when he does his rounds, collects in person, likes to remind everyone who's in charge. Caleb nodded. That's tomorrow. Yeah. Evan's voice was barely a whisper. It is. Caleb extended his hand. You help me get that laptop, and I'll make sure Victor Harlan never touches you or anyone else again. Evan looked at the hand like it might bite him. Then, slowly, he took it. If this goes wrong, Evan said, we're both dead. Then we better make sure it doesn't go wrong. The next morning, Caleb gathered his team, Frank, Marcus, Ray. They met at the clubhouse early before anyone else arrived. Thursday night, Caleb said. That's when we move. Move how? Frank asked. Caleb laid out the plan. Evan would go to Victor's house under the pretense of dropping off money. He'd unlock the back door. Caleb and Marcus would slip inside, grab the laptop, and get out. Quick. Clean. No confrontation. What if someone's there? Marcus asked. Evan says Victor lives alone. No guards at the house when he's out. And you trust this Evan guy? Caleb paused. I trust that he's more afraid of Victor than he is of us, and I trust that he wants out. Frank shook his head. This is risky, Caleb. A lot could go wrong. A lot could go wrong if we do nothing, too. Victor already knows Keisha talked. He left her a message. If we don't act now, he's going to come for her. And when he does, it won't just be bruises this time. The room was silent. Finally, Ray spoke. I'm in, whatever it takes. Marcus nodded. Same. Frank sighed heavily. You're going to be the death of me, Caleb. Probably, but not today. Thursday came faster than anyone expected. Keisha spent the day pacing Rosa's house. She couldn't eat, couldn't sit still. Every noise made her jump. Every car that drove by made her heart race. Caleb came to see her before he left. It's happening tonight, he said. By tomorrow morning this could all be over. Or you could be dead, Keisha said quietly. That's also possible. How can you be so calm? Caleb smiled slightly. I'm not calm. I'm just good at pretending. Keisha looked at him. Really looked. For the first time, she saw the tension in his shoulders, the tightness around his eyes. He was just as scared as she was. He was just better at hiding it. Be careful, she whispered. I will. Promise me." Caleb hesitated. Then he nodded. "I promise." He turned to leave. "Caleb." He stopped. "Thank you," Keisha said, "for everything. No matter what happens tonight. Thank you." Caleb looked back at her. Something soft flickered in his eyes. "Don't thank me yet, kid. We're just getting started." Then he was gone. 8 o'clock came. Evan showed up at Victor's house right on schedule. He knocked on the door. One of Victor's guys answered, took the money, let Evan leave. But before he left, Evan slipped to the back of the house and unlocked the door. He walked away without looking back. Caleb and Marcus were waiting in the shadows. They watched Evan leave, counted to 60. Then they moved. The back door opened easily. They slipped inside. The house was dark, quiet, empty. They found the bedroom, found the painting, found the safe. Marcus kept watch while Caleb worked on the combination. His hands were steady, but his heart was pounding. Click. The safe opened. Inside was the laptop and stacks of cash. Thousands of dollars. "Leave the money," Caleb whispered. "We're not thieves." Marcus grabbed the laptop. They closed the safe, put the painting back, headed for the door. And then they heard it. A car engine, getting closer. Marcus froze. He's back early. Caleb's blood went cold. "Out, now, back door." They ran, through the house, through the kitchen, out the back door. Behind them, they heard the front door open, heard footsteps, heard voices. They didn't stop running until they were 3 blocks away, hidden in the shadows, gasping for breath. Marcus looked at Caleb. His eyes were wild. "Did we get it?" Caleb looked at the laptop in Marcus's hands. "We got it." Back at the clubhouse, they powered up the laptop. Frank's contact bypassed the password in under an hour. And then they saw it. Everything. Spreadsheets, names, dates, amounts. Every person Victor had extorted. Every person he had beaten. Every person he had threatened. Years of evidence, meticulously documented. "He kept records of everything," Frank said in disbelief. "Every crime he committed." "He thought no one would ever see it," Caleb said. "He thought he was untouchable." Marcus scrolled through the files. "There's more. Bank accounts, offshore transfers. This guy's been moving serious money." "Make copies," Caleb ordered. "Multiple copies. Then we distribute them." "To who?" "Everyone. Police, DA, social services, the press. Everyone." Frank looked at him. "You know what happens when this gets out? Victor's going to know exactly who did this. He's going to come for us." Caleb's eyes were hard as stone. "Let him come." The next 48 hours were a whirlwind. Friday morning, copies of the laptop data arrived at 3 different police stations, the district attorney's office, the local news station, social services. Friday afternoon, the first arrest happened. One of Victor's enforcers picked up for extortion. Friday night, 2 more arrests. Saturday morning, police raided 3 locations connected to Victor's operation. They found money, weapons, more evidence than they knew what to do with. And Victor Harlan vanished. Keisha heard the news from Rosa. She couldn't believe it. It was actually happening. Victor's empire was crumbling. His men were being arrested one by one. But Victor himself was still out there, somewhere. And as long as he was free, Keisha wasn't safe. Sunday morning, Caleb got a call from Evan. "He knows." Evan's voice was shaking. "Victor knows it was me. He knows I helped you." "Where are you?" "I'm hiding. I don't know how long I can stay hidden. He's got people looking for me." "Stay where you are. I'm coming to get you." You can't. He's watching everything. If you come for me, he'll find you too. Then we'll deal with that together. Just tell me where you are. Silence on the line. Evan, trust me. More silence. Then an address. An abandoned building on the south side. Don't come alone, Evan said. Please. Caleb hung up and grabbed his keys. Where are you going? Frank asked. To pick up Evan. Victor's hunting him. Then I'm coming with you. No, I need you here, in case something goes wrong. Caleb, if I'm not back in 2 hours, you know what to do. Frank stared at him. This is a bad idea. Probably. Caleb headed for the door. But he helped us. I'm not leaving him to die. He was halfway to the building when his phone rang again. Unknown number. He answered. Caleb Whitmore. The voice was smooth, cold, controlled. We haven't met. My name is Victor Harlan. Caleb's grip tightened on the phone. I know who you are. Then you know why I'm calling. You took something that belongs to me. You turned my people against me. You destroyed everything I built. You destroyed yourself, Victor. I just made sure everyone could see it. A soft laugh on the other end. You think you've won? You think this is over? I think you're running out of places to hide. Maybe. But before I go, I'm going to make sure you understand something. Victor's voice dropped. That girl, Keisha. You think you saved her? You didn't. You just delayed the inevitable. Because when I'm done with you, I'm going to find her, and I'm going to make sure she remembers what happens when someone crosses me. Caleb's blood turned to fire. If you touch her, you'll what? Kill me? Victor laughed again. Better men than you have tried, and they all ended up the same way. The line went dead. Caleb stared at the phone. His hands were shaking, not from fear, from rage. He hit the accelerator and drove faster. Caleb pushed the truck harder. The engine roared. His knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Victor's voice echoed in his head. That girl, Keisha. I'm going to find her. The words burned like acid. Caleb had made a promise. He'd told Keisha she was safe. He told her Victor would never touch her again. And now that monster was out there, hunting, planning, waiting to prove him wrong. The abandoned building came into view. Caleb pulled up fast, killed the engine, scanned the area. No cars, no movement. Too quiet. His gut told him something was wrong. He grabbed the tire iron from under his seat and got out. Walked toward the building slowly. Every sense on high alert. Every nerve screaming. Evan, he called out. You in there? No answer. He pushed through the door. The inside was dark, dusty, smelled like rot and old concrete. Evan! A noise to his left, shuffling. Caleb spun around. Evan was there, tied to a chair, mouth gagged, eyes wide with terror. Behind him stood Victor Harlan, and Victor was smiling. Right on time, Victor said smoothly. I knew you'd come. Couldn't help yourself, could you? Had to play the hero. Caleb's grip tightened on the tire iron. Let him go. Or what? Victor laughed. You'll hit me with that? Come on, Caleb. We both know how this ends. 2 more men stepped out of the shadows, big, armed, blocking the exit. Caleb was trapped. You made a mistake coming after me, Victor continued. You should have minded your own business. Should have let that girl die on the street like she was supposed to. She's a child. She's nothing. Victor's smile faded. Just like everyone else out there. They're all nothing. Nobodies. The world doesn't care about them. I gave them order. I gave them structure. And this is the thanks I get? Some biker with a savior complex destroying everything I built? You didn't build anything, Caleb said coldly. You just hurt people who couldn't fight back. That's not power. That's cowardice. Victor's eye twitched, the first crack in his composure. Cowardice? He stepped closer. You want to see cowardice? Look at Evan. He begged, cried like a baby when my boys picked him up, told me everything, how you planned it, how you broke into my house, how you stole my property. Caleb looked at Evan. The man's face was covered in bruises. Blood dripped from his nose. He'd been beaten badly. It's not his fault, Caleb said. He was trying to do the right thing. The right thing? Victor laughed again. There is no right thing. There's only power, and I have it. You don't. He pulled a gun from his waistband, pointed it at Caleb's chest. Any last words? Caleb didn't flinch. Yeah, you should have checked your back. Victor's smile faltered. What? The door behind them exploded open. Frank burst through, followed by Marcus and Ray, all armed, all moving fast. Victor spun around. His men reacted too slowly. Frank tackled one. Marcus took down the other. Ray grabbed Victor's gun arm and twisted hard. The gun clattered to the floor. Caleb moved, fast. He swung the tire iron and caught Victor across the shoulder. Victor went down with a scream. Stay down, Caleb shouted. Victor tried to get up. Caleb kicked him in the ribs. Hard. Victor collapsed, gasping for air. Frank had one of Victor's men pinned. Marcus had the other in a chokehold. Ray was cutting Evan free from the chair. You okay? Caleb asked Evan. Evan nodded weakly. His whole body was shaking. I thought I was dead. Not today. Victor groaned on the ground, tried to crawl toward the gun. Caleb stepped on his hand. Bone crunched. Victor screamed. You're done, Caleb said quietly. It's over. It's never over, Victor spat through gritted teeth. You think the police can hold me? I've got lawyers, connections. I'll be out in a week, and when I am, you won't be out. Caleb leaned down close. Because every cop in this city has seen what you did. Every judge, every prosecutor. They've seen the records, the names, the money. You're not getting out of this. Not ever. Victor's face twisted with rage. I'll find her. I'll find that girl, and I'll... Caleb grabbed him by the collar and lifted him off the ground, slammed him against the wall. You will never touch her again. You hear me? Never. You can't protect her forever. Watch me. Sirens in the distance, getting closer. Frank looked up. Caleb, we need to go. Caleb stared at Victor for another long moment. Then he let go. Victor slumped to the ground. Leave him for the cops, Caleb said. He's their problem now. They left Evan with instructions to tell the police everything, the whole story, from the beginning. Then they disappeared into the night, just as the first police cars pulled up. Back at the clubhouse, Caleb sat alone in the dark. His hands were still shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline, from the weight of what had almost happened. If Frank hadn't followed him, if they'd arrived 30 seconds later, Victor would have killed him. And then he would have gone after Keisha. The thought made Caleb sick. His phone buzzed. Text from Rosa. Keisha's asking for you. She saw the news. She knows something happened. Caleb drove to Rosa's house. It was almost midnight. The streets were empty, quiet. But his mind was anything but quiet. Rosa met him at the door. Her face was tight with worry. She's in the living room. She won't sleep, won't eat, just keeps asking what happened. Caleb nodded and went inside. Keisha was curled up on the couch, knees pulled to her chest. When she saw Caleb, she jumped up. What happened? I saw the news. They arrested Victor. They arrested all his people. But nobody's saying anything about you, about what really happened. It's over, Caleb said quietly. Victor's in custody. He's not getting out. Are you sure? Are you really sure? I'm sure. Keisha stared at him. Her eyes were searching his face for something. Truth, certainty, hope. You're hurt, she said suddenly. Caleb looked down. There was blood on his knuckles, a cut on his arm he hadn't noticed until now. It's nothing. It's not nothing. Keisha's voice cracked. You almost died, didn't you? Because of me. Because I told you his name. Hey. Caleb stepped closer. Look at me. She did. Tears were streaming down her face. None of this is your fault. You understand? None of it. Victor chose to hurt people. Victor chose to terrorize everyone around him. That's on him, not you. But if I hadn't talked, if you hadn't talked, he'd still be out there, still hurting people, still destroying lives. You were brave, Keisha. Braver than you know. Keisha shook her head. I don't feel brave. I feel scared. All the time. I can't stop being scared. Caleb sat down on the couch beside her. Not too close, just close enough. Being scared is okay, he said gently. It means you're human. But being scared doesn't mean you can't also be brave. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is speak up when everyone else is silent. What if he gets out? What if his lawyers? They won't get him out. We made sure of that. The evidence is everywhere. Police, DA, news stations. There's no burying this. He's done. Keisha wiped her eyes. What happens to me now? What do you mean? I mean, what happens to me? I can't stay here forever. I don't have anywhere to go. No family. No home. Nothing. Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke. You remember what I told you in the hospital about someone helping me when I was on the streets? Keisha nodded. That man didn't just help me once. He helped me build a life, taught me how to work, how to survive, how to become someone who could help others instead of always needing help. What are you saying? I'm saying you don't have to figure this out alone. We'll help you. Rosa, the club, me. We'll make sure you have what you need, a place to stay, school, a future. Keisha stared at him like she couldn't process the words. Why? She whispered. Why are you doing all this for me? Because everyone deserves a chance, Caleb said simply. And because I made a promise. I said I'd keep you safe. That doesn't end just because Victor's in jail. Fresh tears spilled down Keisha's cheeks. But this time, they weren't from fear. I don't know how to thank you. You don't have to thank me. Just promise me something. What? Promise me you'll keep fighting. No matter how hard things get. No matter how scared you feel, you keep fighting. You build a life. And someday, when you're stronger, you help someone else the way I helped you. Keisha nodded slowly. I promise. Caleb smiled. Just a small smile, but it was real. Good. Now get some sleep. You've got a big future ahead of you, and it starts tomorrow. The next few days were chaos. Good chaos. The kind of chaos that comes when things finally start moving in the right direction. Victor Harlan was formally charged with 17 counts of extortion, assault, and racketeering. His men were charged with similar crimes. The DA called a press conference and announced it was one of the largest organized exploitation cases in the city's history. Evan Pike turned state's witness. In exchange for his testimony, he was placed in witness protection. A new name, a new city, a new start. The news stations ran the story for days. Interviews with victims, footage of the arrests, editorial after editorial about how the city had failed its most vulnerable citizens. And through it all, Keisha watched from Rose's living room. She watched the man who had terrorized her get dragged into court. She watched his face when the charges were read. She watched him realize, finally, that he wasn't untouchable anymore. For the first time in months, she slept through the night. But Caleb knew it wasn't over. Not really. The legal system would take months, maybe years, to finish what they'd started. And there were still people on the streets who needed help. People who'd been victims of Victor's operation and were now adrift, afraid, unsure what came next. So Caleb did what he always did. He got to work. He organized food drives, clothing donations, connected people with social services, helped them find shelters, find jobs, find hope. The other club members pitched in. Frank, Marcus, Ray. Even some of the guys who'd been skeptical at first. They saw what Caleb was doing. They saw the difference it was making. And they wanted to be part of it. One afternoon, about a week after Victor's arrest, Keisha came to the clubhouse. She walked in like she belonged there, which surprised everyone, including herself. "I want to help," she said. Caleb looked up from the boxes he was sorting. "Help with what?" "This." She gestured at the boxes, the supplies, the organized chaos. "Whatever you're doing, I want to be part of it." "You should be focusing on yourself, getting your life together." "I am, but I can do both." Keisha's jaw was set, determined. "I know what it's like out there. I know what those people are going through. I can help them in ways you can't." Caleb studied her. She looked different than she had a few weeks ago. Stronger, more certain, like she'd found something solid to stand on. "You sure about this?" "I'm sure." Caleb nodded slowly. "Okay, but you're doing it right. That means staying in school. That means taking care of yourself first. You can't help anyone if you're falling apart." "I know." "And if it ever gets too hard, if it ever brings back too much, you step back, no questions asked." Keisha smiled. It was small, but it was real. "Deal." From that day on, Keisha became part of the operation. She helped sort supplies, talked to people who were too scared to talk to anyone else, shared her story when it helped, kept it private when it didn't. And slowly, day by day, she started to heal. The trial came 3 months later. Victor Harlan sat in the defendant's chair, wearing a suit that didn't fit right, looking smaller than Keisha remembered. Weaker. She was called as a witness. She sat in that chair and looked at the man who had haunted her nightmares. And she told the truth. Every word. Every detail. Every bruise. Victor's lawyer tried to shake her, tried to make her seem unreliable, tried to suggest she was exaggerating. But Keisha didn't flinch. She didn't back down. She looked that lawyer in the eye and said, "I know what happened to me, and I know who did it. You can ask your questions all day. The truth isn't going to change." The jury was out for less than 4 hours. Guilty, on all counts. Victor Harlan was sentenced to 23 years in federal prison. No possibility of parole for at least 15. When the verdict was read, Keisha felt something release in her chest. Something she'd been carrying for so long she'd forgotten it was there. Outside the courthouse, Caleb was waiting for her. "How do you feel?" he asked. Keisha took a deep breath, let it out slowly. "Free," she said. "I feel free." Caleb nodded. "Good. You earned it." They walked to his truck together. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "What now?" Keisha asked. "Now? Now you keep going. School, life, whatever you want to be." "What about you?" Caleb shrugged. "Same as always. Keep helping where I can, keep fighting when I have to." Keisha was quiet for a moment, then she spoke. "You changed my life, Caleb. You know that, right? If you hadn't found me that day, if you hadn't asked me who hurt me, I'd probably be dead." "You found yourself, Keisha. I just helped you get there." "No." Keisha shook her head. "You did more than that. You believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. You fought for me when I didn't think I was worth fighting for. I'm never going to forget that." Caleb looked at her. This girl who'd been broken and beaten and left for dead. This girl who'd found the courage to stand up, to speak out, to reclaim her life. "You're going to do great things, Keisha," he said quietly. "I can feel it." "How do you know?" "Because I know strength when I see it, and you've got more of it than anyone I've ever met." Keisha blinked back tears. "Thank you, Caleb, for everything." "Don't thank me yet." Caleb opened the truck door for her. "We've still got a lot of work to do." Keisha climbed in. Caleb got behind the wheel. "Where are we going?" she asked. Caleb started the engine. "To find out what comes next." 2 years passed. 2 years of healing. 2 years of building. 2 years of becoming someone new. Keisha Williams was 17 now. She'd grown taller, stronger. The hollowness in her face was gone, replaced by the healthy glow of someone who ate 3 meals a day and slept in a real bed every night. She was still living with Rosa, who had become the closest thing to a mother Keisha had ever known. And she was still in school, not just surviving it, thriving. But today was different. Today, Keisha was nervous. She stood in front of the mirror in her small bedroom, adjusting her collar for the 100th time. Her hands were shaking. Her stomach was in knots. Rosa appeared in the doorway. "You look beautiful." "I look terrified." "That too," Rosa smiled warmly. "But that's okay. Everyone gets nervous before something big." "This isn't just big," Keisha said. "This is everything. If I mess this up, you won't mess it up. You don't know that. I know you." Rosa walked over and put her hands on Keisha's shoulders. "I've watched you for 2 years. I've seen what you can do. You're going to walk in there, and you're going to be amazing." Keisha took a deep breath, let it out slowly. "What if they don't pick me? Then they're fools. But they're not fools. They're going to see exactly what I see." "What's that?" "A survivor. A fighter. Someone who's been through hell and came out the other side stronger than before." Keisha's eyes filled with tears. She blinked them back. "Thank you, Rosa, for everything." "Don't thank me yet. Go win that scholarship. Then we'll celebrate." The scholarship interview was at the community center downtown. Full ride to the State University. Social work program. Keisha had applied on a whim, never expecting to get this far. But here she was, one of 5 finalists out of 300 applicants. Caleb was waiting for her outside the community center. He was leaning against his truck, arms crossed, looking exactly the same as he had 2 years ago. Maybe a few more gray hairs, maybe a few more lines around his eyes, but the same solid presence, the same steady calm. "Ready?" he asked. "No." "Good. If you were ready, you wouldn't care enough." "That doesn't make any sense." "It will." He opened the door for her. "Go in there and show them who you are." "Who am I?" Caleb looked at her, really looked. "You're Keisha Williams. You survived things that would have broken most people, and instead of letting it destroy you, you turned it into fuel. You're going to help people, Keisha. Lots of people. Starting today." Keisha felt something shift in her chest, a warmth, a certainty. "Okay," she said. "I'm ready." She walked inside. The interview panel was 4 people, 2 professors, a dean, a former scholarship recipient who was now a successful social worker. They sat behind a long table, papers and folders spread out in front of them. Keisha sat down across from them. Her heart was pounding, her palms were sweating, but she kept her face calm, steady, the way Caleb had taught her. "Miss Williams," the dean began, "thank you for being here today. We've reviewed your application and your academic records. Very impressive considering your circumstances." "Thank you." "But we'd like to hear from you directly, in your own words. Why social work?" Keisha had prepared an answer, a safe answer, something about wanting to help people, make a difference, give back to the community. But looking at those 4 faces, she realized that wasn't what they needed to hear. They needed the truth. "3 years ago, I was homeless," she said. "I was 15 years old, living on the streets of Fresno, sleeping in alleys, eating out of trash cans, and I was being hurt, regularly, by a man who thought he owned everyone in that part of town." The panel went still, all 4 of them leaning forward slightly, listening. "I thought I was invisible," Keisha continued. "I thought nobody could see me, nobody cared. I was just another statistic, another homeless kid who'd probably end up dead before she turned 18. She paused, took a breath. "And then someone saw me. A stranger. He found me passed out on the sidewalk, and he didn't walk around me like everyone else. He stopped. He helped. He asked me one question that changed my life." "What question?" one of the professors asked softly. "Who hurt you?" Silence in the room. "Nobody had ever asked me that before," Keisha said. "Nobody had ever cared enough to ask. But he did. And because he asked, I told him. And because I told him, he helped me. He fought for me. He believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." She looked at each panel member in turn. "That's why I want to do social work, because I know what it's like to be invisible. I know what it's like to think nobody cares, and I know how much it means when someone finally sees you. I want to be that person for someone else, for lots of someone else's." The former scholarship recipient had tears in her eyes. She wiped them away quickly. "Miss Williams," she said, "that's one of the most powerful things I've ever heard in one of these interviews. It's just the truth. Sometimes the truth is the most powerful thing there is." The interview lasted another 30 minutes. They asked about her grades, her goals, her experience volunteering with the food distribution program. But the whole time, Keisha could feel something different in the air. Something shifted. When it was over, she walked outside on shaky legs. Caleb was still there, still waiting. "How'd it go?" Keisha burst into tears, right there on the sidewalk. 2 years of pressure and fear and hope all releasing at once. Caleb didn't say anything. He just pulled her into a hug and held her while she cried. "I told them everything," she sobbed. "About the streets, about Victor, about you. I told them the truth." "Good. What if they think I'm damaged? What if they don't want someone with my history? Then they don't deserve you. Caleb pulled back and looked at her. But I don't think that's what's going to happen. How do you know? Because I've seen a lot of people in my life, Keisha. Good people, bad people, everything in between. And I can tell when someone makes an impact. You made an impact in there. I guarantee it. 2 weeks later, Keisha got the call. She'd won the scholarship. Full ride, 4 years. Rosa screamed so loud the neighbors came running. Keisha just stood there, phone in hand, unable to process what she was hearing. Miss Williams, are you still there? Yes, I'm here. Are you sure? You're sure it's me? The woman on the other end laughed. We're very sure. Your interview was remarkable. The panel was unanimous. We can't wait to have you in the program. Keisha hung up the phone, looked at Rosa, and then she started laughing and crying at the same time. I did it, she said. I actually did it. I knew you would. Rosa hugged her tight. I always knew. That night, there was a celebration at the clubhouse. Nothing fancy, just food and music, and the people who'd become Keisha's family over the past 2 years. Caleb, Rosa, Frank, Marcus, Ray, other members of the club who'd watched her grow from a scared, broken girl into something remarkable. Caleb stood up and raised his glass. I want to say something. The room went quiet. 3 years ago, a girl collapsed in front of our clubhouse. She was 15, starving, beaten, alone. Most people would have walked right past her, but we didn't. And I'm glad we didn't, because that girl turned out to be one of the strongest, bravest, most incredible people I've ever known. He looked at Keisha. His eyes were shining. Keisha, you've got a bright future ahead of you. And I know you're going to do amazing things. But I want you to remember something. No matter where you go, no matter what you achieve, you'll always have a home here, with us, with your family. Keisha's throat was too tight to speak. She just nodded, tears streaming down her face. The room erupted in cheers, people clapping, hugging her, congratulating her. For the first time in her life, Keisha felt like she belonged somewhere. But even as she celebrated, a small voice in the back of her mind whispered that this was too good to last, that something would go wrong, that happiness always had a price. She pushed the voice away, told herself she was being paranoid. She was wrong. 3 days later, Keisha got another call. This one wasn't good news. Is this Keisha Williams? Yes, who's this? My name is Detective Sarah Chen. I'm with the Fresno Police Department. I need to speak with you about Victor Harlan. Keisha's blood went cold. What about him? There's been a development in his case. I'd rather discuss it in person. Can you come to the station this afternoon? Keisha's hands were shaking when she hung up the phone. She called Caleb immediately. Something's wrong, she said. The police want to talk to me about Victor. I'll be there in 10 minutes. They drove to the police station together. Detective Chen met them in the lobby. She was in her 40s, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Thank you for coming, Miss Williams. Please, follow me. They went to a small conference room. Detective Chen closed the door and sat down across from them. I'll get straight to the point, she said. Victor Harlan has filed an appeal. Keisha felt the floor drop out from under her. An appeal? His lawyers are arguing that some of the evidence used in his trial was obtained illegally, specifically the laptop that contained his financial records. Caleb's jaw tightened. That laptop was crucial to the case. I know, and if the appeal succeeds, that evidence could be thrown out, which means... Which means he could get a new trial, Keisha finished. Her voice was barely a whisper. Possibly. Or his sentence could be significantly reduced. How is this possible? Keisha's voice rose. He's guilty. Everyone knows he's guilty. He hurt so many people. I know. Detective Chen's voice was gentle but firm. But the legal system has rules, and his lawyers have found a potential loophole. What can we do? Caleb asked. That's why I called you here. We need to build a stronger case, one that doesn't rely on the laptop evidence. We need more witnesses, more testimony, more documentation of what Harlan did to his victims. You want me to testify again, Keisha said. If you're willing. Your testimony was powerful the first time. It could make the difference again. Keisha closed her eyes. She'd spent 2 years trying to move past what Victor had done to her. 2 years building a new life. And now she was being asked to dive back into the nightmare. Can I think about it? Of course. Take all the time you need. But I have to be honest with you, Miss Williams. The hearing is in 6 weeks. If we're going to fight this, we need to start now. They drove back in silence. Keisha stared out the window, watching the city pass by without really seeing it. Finally, Caleb spoke. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. No, you don't. You've already done more than anyone could ask. If this is too much, it's not about what's too much. Keisha turned to look at him. It's about what's right. Victor hurt a lot of people. If I don't testify, if I don't fight, he could get out. He could do it all over again. I can't let that happen. Even if it means reliving everything? Even if. Caleb was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Okay. Then we do it together, like last time. Keisha felt some of the tension in her chest ease. Like last time. The next 6 weeks were brutal. Keisha met with Detective Chen almost every day. They went over her testimony, over and over, looking for weaknesses, anticipating what Victor's lawyers would try. At the same time, Keisha was preparing for college, orientation, registration, financial aid paperwork. She was being pulled in 100 different directions, and some days she felt like she was going to snap. But she didn't snap. She kept going. 1 foot in front of the other, 1 day at a time. Rosa helped when she could, made sure Keisha ate, made sure she slept, reminded her that she wasn't alone. Caleb helped too. He reached out to other victims of Victor's operation, people who'd been too scared to testify the first time. Some of them said no, but some of them said yes. By the time the hearing came, they had 4 additional witnesses ready to take the stand. The hearing was held on a Tuesday morning. Keisha arrived early, dressed in the same outfit she'd worn to her scholarship interview. Her armor, she called it. Caleb was there. Rosa was there. Frank and Marcus and Ray were there. All of them sitting in the gallery, watching, supporting. Victor Harlan was brought in, wearing prison orange. He looked older, thinner, but his eyes were the same. Cold, calculating, predatory. When he saw Keisha, he smiled. Just a little. Just enough to let her know he remembered. Keisha's stomach lurched, but she didn't look away. She stared right back at him. You don't scare me anymore, she thought. Not anymore. The hearing began. Victor's lawyers presented their argument. The evidence was obtained illegally. The conviction should be overturned. Their client deserved a new trial. Then it was the prosecution's turn. One by one, the witnesses took the stand. A man who'd been beaten for not paying, a woman who'd watched Victor's men terrorize her children, an elderly man who'd had his Social Security check stolen every month for 2 years. And then it was Keisha's turn. She walked to the witness stand, sat down, looked out at the courtroom. Caleb gave her a small nod. "You've got this." The prosecutor approached. "Miss Williams, can you tell the court about your experience with Victor Harlan?" Keisha took a breath, and she told them everything, every detail, every bruise, every moment of terror. She told them about the day Victor beat her in front of everyone, about the fear that had consumed her for months, about how she'd thought she would die on those streets, alone and forgotten. And then she told them about Caleb, about the question that had changed her life, about the people who had believed in her when she'd stopped believing in herself. By the time she finished, half the courtroom was in tears. Victor's lawyer tried to discredit her, asked leading questions, suggested she was exaggerating, that her memory was unreliable. Keisha didn't flinch. "I remember every moment," she said calmly. "I remember the way he grabbed me, the way he smiled while he hurt me, the way he told everyone else that this is what happens when you don't follow the rules. You can question my memory all you want. The truth isn't going to change." The judge called a recess. Keisha walked out of the courtroom on shaking legs. Caleb was waiting for her in the hallway. "You did good," he said. "I feel like I'm going to throw up." "That's normal." "Is it over? Did we win?" Caleb shook his head. "Not yet. The judge needs to make a decision. Could take a few hours, could take a few days." It took 2 days. 2 days of waiting. 2 days of not sleeping. 2 days of jumping every time her phone buzzed. And then the call came. Appeal denied. Conviction upheld. Victor Harlan would serve his full sentence. Keisha collapsed onto the couch. All the strength went out of her at once. "It's over," she whispered. "It's really over." Rosa hugged her. Caleb sat down beside her. Nobody said anything for a long time. Finally, Keisha spoke. "I thought I was going to fall apart. When I saw him again, when he smiled at me, I thought all the healing I'd done would just disappear." "But it didn't," Caleb said. "No, it didn't." Keisha looked at him. "Because of you. Because of everyone. Because I finally understood something." "What's that?" "That I'm not alone. That I never have to be alone again." Caleb smiled, just a little, but it was real. "No," he said. "You never do." 2 months later, Keisha Williams started college. She walked onto campus with a backpack on her shoulder and a future ahead of her. She was nervous, excited, terrified, hopeful. She called Caleb that first night from her dorm room. "How's it going?" he asked. "Overwhelming, amazing, scary, all at once." "Sounds about right." "Caleb?" "Yeah?" "Thank you. For everything. For believing in me. For fighting for me. For never giving up." There was silence on the other end. Then Caleb's voice, rougher than usual. "You don't have to thank me, Keisha. You did the hard part. You survived. You grew. You became something incredible. All I did was ask the right question." "Who hurt you?" Keisha said softly. "Yeah. Who hurt you?" "And you were brave enough to answer." Keisha wiped her eyes. "I'm going to make you proud." "You already have, kid. You already have." She hung up the phone and looked out the window at the campus below. Students walking, laughing, living their lives. And for the first time, Keisha felt like she was one of them. 5 years later, Keisha Williams stood in front of a mirror, adjusting her graduation gown. Her hands were steady now. No more shaking. No more fear. She was 22 years old, and today she was graduating with honors from the State University with a degree in social work. Rosa knocked on the door. "You ready? Everyone's waiting." Keisha turned around. Rosa looked older, gray streaks in her hair now, but her smile was exactly the same, warm, proud, full of love. "I'm ready," Keisha said. "You look beautiful." "I look like I'm about to cry." "That too." Rosa laughed and pulled her into a hug. "I'm so proud of you. You know that, right?" "I know." Keisha held on tight. "Thank you for everything, Rosa. For taking me in, for believing in me, for being my family when I didn't have one. You've always been my family, Keisha, from the moment you walked through my door." They held each other for a long moment. Then Rosa pulled back and wiped her eyes. "Come on, Caleb's been pacing outside for 20 minutes. I think he's more nervous than you are." Keisha laughed. "That's impossible." But when she walked outside, she saw it was true. Caleb was standing by his truck wearing a suit that looked uncomfortable on him, checking his watch every few seconds. When he saw Keisha, he stopped. His face softened. "Look at you," he said quietly. "Look at you," Keisha shot back. "I didn't know you owned a suit." "I don't. I borrowed it from Frank. It's 3 sizes too small." "It shows." They both laughed. And then Caleb pulled her into a hug. A real hug. The kind he rarely gave. "I'm proud of you, kid," he said into her hair. "More than you'll ever know." "I couldn't have done it without you." "Yes, you could have. You just didn't have to." They drove to the university together. Caleb and Rosa, Frank and Marcus, Ray and his wife. The whole crew, Keisha's family, the people who'd been there through everything. The ceremony was long. Hundreds of graduates, speeches about the future, about potential, about making a difference. And then they called her name. Keisha Williams, Bachelor of Science in Social Work, summa cum laude. Keisha walked across the stage. Her legs were steady. Her head was high. She shook hands with the dean, took her diploma, looked out at the audience. Caleb was on his feet. So was Rosa, Frank, Marcus, Ray. All of them cheering, all of them crying. Keisha felt tears streaming down her own face. But she was smiling, smiling so wide it hurt. 7 years ago, she'd been dying on the streets of Fresno, beaten, starving, invisible. And now she was here, alive, educated, ready to change the world. After the ceremony, they gathered outside. Hugs, photos, laughter. The kind of joy that only comes after a long, hard journey. Caleb handed Keisha an envelope. "What's this?" "Open it." She did. Inside was a bank statement, an account in her name. The balance made her gasp. "Caleb, this is almost $10,000. We've been adding to it every month, since the beginning." "It's not much, but it's enough to get you started." Keisha stared at the statement. Her hands were shaking again, but this time not from fear. "I can't accept this." "You're not accepting it. You earned it. Every penny." "How did I earn it?" Caleb looked at her. His eyes were serious, steady. "By surviving. By fighting. By becoming someone who's going to help a lot of people. Consider it an investment. In you. In your future. In everyone you're going to save." Keisha's throat was too tight to speak. She just hugged him, held on like she had that first day in the hospital, like he was the only solid thing in a world that kept shifting. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me. Just go change the world." She intended to. 2 months later, Keisha started her first job, case manager at a nonprofit that worked with homeless youth, the same part of town where she'd once slept in alleys, the same streets where Victor Harlan had terrorized everyone around him. Her first day was overwhelming. Paperwork, training, so many names and faces and stories that blurred together. But on her second day, something happened that changed everything. A girl came in, 15 years old, black, thin, wearing clothes that were too big and falling apart, bruises on her arms that she tried to hide with long sleeves. Keisha's heart stopped. It was like looking in a mirror. 7 years ago. The girl sat down across from Keisha's desk. Her eyes were wary, suspicious, ready to run. "I'm Keisha," she said gently. "What's your name?" The girl didn't answer, just stared at her with those careful, guarded eyes. "You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. That's okay." Still nothing. Keisha leaned back in her chair, took a breath. "Can I tell you something? About me?" A tiny nod. 7 years ago, I was sitting where you're sitting. I was homeless. I was scared. I'd been hurt by someone who was supposed to protect me, and I thought I was going to die on the streets, alone, invisible. The girl's eyes flickered, just slightly, but Keisha caught it. But then someone helped me. A stranger. He didn't know me. He had no reason to care. But he stopped anyway. He asked me one question that changed my whole life. "What question?" The girl's voice was barely a whisper. Keisha leaned forward, looked her right in the eyes. "Who hurt you?" The girl's lip trembled, her hands clenched in her lap. "You don't have to answer right now," Keisha said softly. "You don't have to trust me right now. But I want you to know something. I see you. I see you, and I care what happens to you. And whatever you're going through, you don't have to face it alone." For a long moment, the girl didn't move, didn't speak. Then a single tear rolled down her cheek. "My name's Destiny," she whispered. "And I need help." Keisha reached across the desk and took her hand. "You came to the right place." Over the next few weeks, Keisha worked with Destiny every day, got her into a shelter, connected her with services, helped her navigate the system that had failed her so many times. It wasn't easy. Destiny had walls, trust issues, years of trauma that made her push people away. But Keisha understood. She'd been there. She knew what it took. "Why do you keep trying?" Destiny asked one day. "I've been awful to you. I've yelled at you, ignored you, pushed you away. Why don't you just give up?" Keisha smiled. "Because someone didn't give up on me. Even when I pushed, even when I ran. He kept showing up. He kept believing in me. And eventually, I started believing in myself." "Who was he?" "A biker. Can you believe that? A big, scary-looking biker with tattoos and a leather vest. Not the kind of person you'd expect to save a homeless kid." "What happened to him?" "He's still around. Still helping people. Still saving lives." Destiny was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "Do you think I can do it? Get out? Have a real life?" Keisha looked at her. This girl who'd been through so much, who'd survived so much. "I don't think you can," she said. "I know you can, because I did. And you're stronger than I ever was." Destiny's eyes filled with tears. "Nobody's ever believed in me before." "I believe in you," Keisha said firmly, "and I'm not going anywhere." A year passed, then another. Keisha kept working, kept fighting, kept helping. She saw hundreds of kids come through her office. Some made it out. Some didn't. Some came back years later to thank her. Some she never heard from again. But every single one of them mattered. Every single one of them taught her something. Destiny was one of the success stories. She got her GED, got into community college, got a part-time job at a grocery store. She was building a life, piece by piece, day by day. And every step of the way, Keisha was there. Just like Caleb had been there for her. Keisha was 27 when she got the call that changed everything again. She was at her desk, buried in paperwork, when her phone buzzed. Rosa's number. "Hey, Rosa, what's up?" Rosa's voice was shaking. "Keisha, you need to come home, right now." "What's wrong? What happened?" "It's Caleb. He collapsed at the clubhouse. They took him to the hospital." Keisha's blood went cold. "What do you mean, collapsed?" "I don't know. They won't tell me anything. Just, please, come." Keisha was in her car before Rosa finished speaking. She broke every speed limit getting to the hospital, ran through the emergency room doors, found Rosa in the waiting area, tears streaming down her face. "Where is he? What happened?" "They're running tests. They think it's his heart." His heart. Caleb's heart. Keisha's legs gave out. She sank into the chair beside Rosa. "He can't die," she whispered. "He can't. Not now. Not after everything. They're doing everything they can. It's not enough." "It's never enough." They waited. Hours that felt like years. Frank showed up. Then Marcus. Then Ray. The whole club gathering in that waiting room, united by fear. Finally, a doctor came out. Middle-aged woman, tired eyes. "Family of Caleb Whitmore?" Everyone stood up at once. "We're his family," Frank said. "All of us." The doctor looked at the group. Bikers in leather vests, an older Hispanic woman, a young black woman with tears in her eyes. "He's stable," the doctor said. "He had a heart attack. We had to perform emergency surgery, but he came through." The relief hit Keisha like a wave. Her knees buckled. Frank caught her. "Can we see him?" Rosa asked. "Family only. 2 at a time." Frank looked at Keisha. "You first." She walked down the hallway on legs that felt like they belonged to someone else, found Caleb's room, pushed open the door. He looked small in that hospital bed, smaller than she'd ever seen him. Wires and tubes everywhere, monitors beeping, but his eyes were open, and when he saw her, he smiled. "Hey, kid." Keisha burst into tears. She rushed to his bedside, grabbed his hand. "You scared me," she said through her sobs. "You scared me so bad." "Sorry about that. Wasn't in my plans." "Don't you dare do that again. You hear me? Don't you dare." Caleb squeezed her hand weakly. "I'll do my best." They sat in silence for a while. The monitors beeped, the machines hummed. Finally, Caleb spoke. "I need to tell you something." "You should be resting." "This is important." His voice was weak but serious. "I've been thinking about everything, about what happens when I'm not around anymore." "Don't talk like that." "I have to, because it's true." Caleb looked at her. His eyes were bright, clear. "I'm not going to live forever, Keisha. Nobody does. And when I'm gone, someone needs to keep doing what I do. Someone needs to keep helping people, keep seeing them, keep asking the questions nobody else asks." "Caleb, that someone is you." Keisha froze. "What?" You're ready. You've been ready for a while. Everything I taught you, everything you've learned, it's time to pass it on. I'm not you. I can't do what you do. You're right. You can't do what I do. Caleb smiled. You'll do it better. Keisha shook her head, tears streaming down her face. I'm not ready. Nobody's ever ready. You just do it anyway. That's the secret. He squeezed her hand again. Promise me. Promise me you'll keep going, keep fighting, keep saving people like I saved you. Keisha looked at him. This man who'd changed her life, who'd seen her when she was invisible, who'd asked the question nobody else had asked. I promise, she whispered. Caleb nodded, closed his eyes. Good. Now let me sleep. I'm tired. Keisha stayed by his side all night, watching his chest rise and fall, listening to the monitors beep. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. She was going to keep that promise, no matter what. Caleb recovered, slowly. It took months of physical therapy, lifestyle changes, and more hospital visits than anyone could count. But he was stubborn, always had been. On his first day back at the clubhouse, there was a small celebration. Just the core group: Keisha, Rosa, Frank, Marcus, Ray. Caleb stood up, looked around at the faces of the people he loved. I want to say something. Everyone went quiet. I've spent most of my life trying to help people, trying to make up for things I did when I was young and stupid. And I always thought I'd know when it was time to stop, when I'd done enough. He paused, took a breath. I don't think that time is ever going to come, because there's always going to be someone who needs help, someone who's invisible, someone who's falling through the cracks. He looked at Keisha. But I can't do it alone anymore. My body won't let me. So I'm passing the torch to the person who's earned it, the person who's going to carry this forward long after I'm gone. He walked over to Keisha, put his hands on her shoulders. Keisha Williams, you came into my life as a broken girl on a sidewalk, and you've become the strongest, bravest, most incredible person I've ever known. I'm proud to call you family, and I know you're going to change the world. Keisha was crying. Everyone was crying. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep seeing people. Keep asking the question. What question? Caleb smiled. Who hurt you? 3 months later, Keisha opened her own nonprofit, a shelter for homeless youth in Fresno, the same part of town where she'd once slept in alleys, the same streets where she'd been beaten and broken and left for dead. She named it Second Chance House. The grand opening was small, just the people who mattered. Caleb was there, still moving slowly but determined. Rosa was there. Frank, Marcus, Ray, Destiny, who was now a volunteer, and there were others. Kids who'd been helped by the food distribution program, families who'd been connected to services, survivors who'd found hope when they thought they had none. Keisha stood at the front of the room, looked out at all those faces. 10 years ago, I was homeless. I was 15 years old, starving, beaten, invisible. I thought I was going to die on the streets of this city, alone and forgotten. She paused, steadied her voice. And then a stranger saw me. He stopped when everyone else walked past. He asked me one simple question, 3 words. Who hurt you? Those 3 words changed my life. They gave me hope when I had none. They gave me a future when I thought I didn't have one. She looked at Caleb, He was smiling, tears in his eyes. This shelter exists because of that question. Because someone cared enough to ask. And now it's my turn. It's our turn. To see the people everyone else ignores. To ask the questions nobody else asks. To give hope to the hopeless. She took a deep breath. Every kid who walks through these doors is going to know one thing. They are not invisible. They are not forgotten. They matter. And they are never, ever alone. The room erupted in applause. Keisha wiped her tears, looked around at the faces of her family. This was her purpose. This was her calling. This was why she'd survived. Later that night, after everyone had gone, Keisha sat alone in the empty shelter. Her shelter. Her second chance. Her phone buzzed. Text from Caleb. Proud of you, kid. Always have been. Always will be. Keisha smiled. Typed back. I learned from the best. She put down the phone and looked around the room, at the beds that would soon hold kids who needed them, at the walls that would witness transformations, at the space that would become home to so many who had nowhere else to go. 10 years ago, she'd been dying on the streets, broken, beaten, invisible. And now she was here, alive, strong, seen, because one man had stopped. One man had asked. One man had cared enough to see her when no one else did. Who hurt you? 3 words. That's all it took to change everything. And now Keisha was going to spend the rest of her life asking that same question. Seeing the invisible. Saving the lost. Paying forward the gift she'd been given. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing in the world isn't strength or money or power. Sometimes, it's just being seen. Sometimes, it's just 3 words. Who hurt you? That's where healing begins. That's where change starts. That's where broken lives become beautiful ones. Keisha Williams knew that better than anyone. And she was just getting started. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to our channel. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from. And remember, sometimes all it takes to save a life is to see someone, really see them, and ask the question nobody else is asking. Who hurt you? You might just change someone's world.